A cold and brutal winter had settled on the city. The frigid north winds, snow, and the freezing mist off the bay held the city in its icy grip of cold and fog. Along the river, ship's bells could be heard as captains sought to guide their vessels through the dense fog. The steam locomotives on the edge of town added their muffled sound to the daily symphony, while their billowing smokestacks added to the gloomy fog. It would not be correct to say the day dawned on Christmas Eve, for the fog had painted its own gray darkness on the land. Indeed, the only change was from total darkness to a moody gray overcast. But despite the cold and the darkness, there was a true sense of joy and enthusiasm throughout the city, for today was Christmas Eve. As people scurried about to work or shopping, a sense of kindness and hope permeated the air everywhere. Everywhere, that is, except for a small office in a small alley just off the main street of the financial district. For unlike the other offices and stores lit by candlelight, gaslight, and roaring fires to ward off the cold, this small establishment looked cold and dark. Above the door hung a weathered sign that simply said, Scrooge and Marley.
All this humbug about Christmas makes it impossible for a man to get a decent day's work done. Little beggars in the street singing their off-key carols and hoping to steal a few farthings from us respectable working folk. Humbug. It's all humbug, I say. And that clerk of mine, Bob Cratchit, pretending to work when his mind is all on this Christmas nonsense. Good thing I only pay him 15 shillings a week, for that's more than the work he actually does. And he keeps trying to sneak more coal from the scuttle to put on the fire. Cost me more money. Humbug. Humbug. How is one to work with this infernal racket going on outside? Be gone! Be gone, you little hoodlums! Can't a man get a decent day's work done without your infernal racket? You'll not get a farthing from me. Humbug! Humbug! Be off before I call the constable.
The day progressed, and work continued, as always, at the office of Scrooge and Marley. From time to time, carols could be heard in the streets and the sound of Christmas greetings. If Scrooge noticed them, it was only to utter another humbug and complain how Christmas interfered with the work of business. In his corner, Bob Cratchit, Scrooge's faithful clerk for over a decade, labored over the books in the light of the dim candle.
It has been a difficult day, and Mr. Scrooge is in a most foul mood. Several of his clients have come in asking for extra time to make the repayments on their loans. Each time, he only got madder as they plead for more time in the spirit of Christmas. And then 2 men from the Benevolence League came asking for contributions to help the poor.
So, gentlemen, you seek funds to help the poor and the destitute?
Yes, Mr. Scrooge. Some food and drink during this holy season to help those suffering in poverty.
Are there no workhouses? Are there no prisons?
There are, sir, though we wish there were not.
I am pleased they are still operating. I pay my taxes to support these fine institutions. Let the poor go there.
Many cannot, and others fear to go.
Well, if that is the case, then let them die and decrease the surplus population. Good day, gentlemen. Be off. This is a place of work, and we have much to do today.
Good day, Bob Cratchit, and a Merry Christmas to you. I've come to see my uncle.
And a Merry Christmas to you, Master Fred. You may not want to go in here. I fear your uncle is in a most foul mood today. He keeps saying Christmas is a humbug. Debtors, carolers, and those seeking help for the poor have made him even more angry. It's the 7th anniversary of Mr. Marley's passing. He even seems angry over that.
Don't worry, I have the spirit of Christmas in me. Hello, Uncle, and a Merry Christmas to you.
Humbug! Have you come to disrupt my business as well, nephew?
Not at all, Uncle Ebenezer. Just to share some Christmas joy with you, and to invite you to dine with us tomorrow.
Humbug! There's too much work to do. You keep Christmas in your way, and I'll keep it in mine.
But you don't keep it. Come dine with us.
You and that penniless wife of yours? What's her name? Amanda?
You mean Abigail?
Yes, Abigail. Marrying a poor girl for love? Such foolishness. You don't have a farthing to spare. Now be off, nephew. Off, I say. You are interfering with my work.
Very well, Uncle. Good day and a Merry Christmas to you.
Humbug, I say. Good day to you, nephew. I assume you want the entire day off tomorrow, Mr. Cratchit?
If it is quite convenient, sir.
It is not convenient. And I assume you'll expect a full day's pay?
It's only once a year, sir, and it's for the children.
Christmas. A fine reason to pick a man's pocket every 365 days. Just be here all the earlier the next day.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Merry Christmas to you.
Humbug. Now off with you before I change my mind.
Scrooge stayed at the office for another hour, then locked up and headed home. As was his custom, he stopped at a local tavern for his evening meal. Sitting alone in a dark corner, he ate his simple meal of stew and bread. Tonight was particularly vexing for him. The tavern was filled with merriment at the approach of Christmas. There was good cheer among all the patrons, and, from time to time, a group of carolers would stop in to sing for them and enjoy a drink. Alone in his corner, Scrooge closed himself off from the celebration. He thought briefly of his departed partner, Jacob Marley, who had passed away 7 years ago on this very day, Christmas Eve. For a moment, he wished Marley were there, so he had someone to talk with who shared his sentiment.
Humbug! Humbug, I say! This is all humbug! Anyone who walks around with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled in his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart.
Scrooge could not bear the jovial atmosphere of the tavern. He quickly finished his stew and, taking the last few slices of bread, made his way into the street.
This wretched fog, and now snow. It's horrid, I say. And these irksome people with their Merry Christmas. It's humbug, I say. Christmas is a humbug.
He passed the church, and as Scrooge turned down the alley to home, its bells chimed. The wind was blowing furiously, and strange sounds carried on the wind. Scrooge felt an odd sensation and thought he heard the sounds of chains dragging on the ground. As he reached his door, the snow was blowing hard, and still stranger sounds of those in torment seemed to be in the wind. Scrooge reached for his key.
What is this? The door knocker? It's glowing? Must be a light from across the street. The most peculiar thing I've ever seen. And it looks like a face. A face? Not unlike Jacob Marley. Humbug, I say. It's just this icy snow sticking to the knocker. That infernal stew seemed a little off tonight. Must have interfered with my senses.
Scrooge opened the door and went inside. To be safe, he double-bolted the doors, then made his way upstairs to his sparsely furnished bedroom. He securely locked the bedroom door, then removed his coat and wrapped himself in a heavy robe to ward off the cold. With a cup of hot tea, he sat in front of his meager fire and slowly dozed off.
What? What's that noise? Who's there? What do you want?
Scrooge hurried to the door to check the lock. He noticed as he approached the door that a great chill was coming from it. He shivered in the cold and pulled his robe tighter around him. Suddenly, a burst of energy, as if from an explosion, pushed him back from the door. In front of Scrooge appeared a ghostly apparition, dressed in a coat, hat, pants, and boots, as Marley used to dress. His face was wrapped with a bandage that appeared to hold his jaw in place, and the chains fastened to his leg was a ponderous chain some 7 yards long. Attached to it were ghostly manifestations of cash boxes, gold bars, and heavy bags of coins.
Ebenezer Scrooge, do you know me?
Jacob? Jacob Marley? Is that you? And what is that chain you wear?
It is I, your partner in business when I lived.
But you're dead.
I am, but now I walk among the condemned. Those whose spirits did not go forth in life to do good must now roam the earth, tormented by our past failings but unable to help those in need. We must forever relive and be tortured by the good we have failed to do.
And what is that chain you wear?
These chains are the wealth I did not share in life. Now, they are my burden in death.
But Jacob, you were a good man of business.
Business! Mankind was my business.
But why are you here, Jacob?
I have come for your welfare.
Well, thank you, but I'm sure a good night's sleep would be best for my welfare.
Your chain was this long and heavy 7 years ago. It has grown more ponderous since. To avoid this fate, you will be visited by 3 spirits. The first at the stroke of midnight, the second at the stroke of 1, and the third at the stroke of 2.
Couldn't I take them all at once and be done with them?
Scrooge followed as the ghost moved toward the window, which flung open as he approached. A cold chill from the howling wind settled on the room. As Marley's ghost floated out the window, Scrooge saw hundreds, perhaps thousands of other spirits floating in the night. All were burdened with heavy chains and shrieking and lamenting. Scrooge slammed the window shut and staggered back to his chair. He took a sip of tea to calm his nerves and fell into a deep sleep. Scrooge was startled awake by the church bells chiming at midnight. As he awoke, he saw a faint glow in the room and felt the presence of something from long ago.
Ebenezer, do you see me?
Who are you? How did you get in here?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
Are you the one Marley foretold?
I am. It is time. Come with me.
As the ghost led Scrooge to the window, it opened before him, but now the wind was no longer cold.
Stop! Stop, I say! I will fall!
Take my hand and we shall fly.
It seemed only a moment, but suddenly the air was filled with the voices of young teens and Christmas.
You know this place.
Know it? Why, it's my old school. Hello, Thomas. Hello, Mr. Feister.
They can't hear you, Ebenezer. They are but shadows of the past. Come, follow me. You know the solitary figure in the corner.
It's me. I stayed at school for the holidays.
Your father didn't want you around.
No. Poor lonely boy. I wish.
Yes?
Nothing. I was just thinking of the young boy I saw caroling as I left the office. I would like to have given him a shilling.
Just then, a door burst open and a young girl came running in.
Ebby, I've come to take you home.
Fanny? Oh, Fanny.
Father is so much kinder now. He sent me to bring you home for Christmas, and you'll never come back here again.
If you've seen enough, it's time we move on to the next memory.
Why, it's old Fezziwigs. I was apprentice here. Good old Mr. Fezziwigs certainly knew how to throw a Christmas party. There's Ricky from school, and Jacob, he was always the life of the party. And Belle. my dear Belle.
Did you say something, Mr. Scrooge?
I was just thinking.
Merry Christmas, Richard. Jacob.
Merry Christmas, Miss Belle.
What a wonderful party.
I should say so, Mr. Marley. Mr. Fezziwig is the best boss ever. Don't you agree, Ebenezer?
I certainly do. What better way could there be to celebrate Christmas?
Hello, dears, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Mrs. Fezziwig.
Well, don't just stand there. Come join in the dancing.
My dear Miss Belle, may I have this dance?
My dear Mr. Richard, I'm sorry, but I've promised all my dances to Mr. Ebenezer.
It looks like Ebenezer has found himself a rare gem.
Yes, he has.
Such a meager gesture. The party could not have cost more than a few pounds.
Gesture? Why, 1,000 pounds could not have brought such happiness.
Come, the hour draws to a close. One more visit. Do you know this place?
No, Spirit. Please, not here.
My dear Ebenezer, I must release you from your promise.
Release me? Why?
Another has taken my place in your life.
Another? Who?
Not a person, but gold, the desire for wealth.
But life is hard. One needs money to survive.
You're growing rich now, but when we made our pledge, we were poor, but happy. Tell me, Ebenezer, with your growing wealth, would you ask a poor girl like me to marry you now? Would you?
Belle! Belle, wait! Come back! Belle! Belle!
Scrooge fell into a deep and unsettled sleep. Slowly he began to awaken, aware of voices and growing sound from the room next door. The church bell was chiming the hour, then a voice called out.
Ebenezer! Ebenezer! Wake up! Come here and see me.
Scrooge walked across the room. He could see bright lights shining under the door.
Ebenezer! Ebenezer! Come here!
The voice continued to call as he opened the door.
Ebenezer! Ebenezer!
The lights, the brightness, it hurts my eyes. The tree and the food.
That, Ebenezer, is because you have not seen the likes of me for far too many years.
Who are you? Are you another of the spirits Marley foretold?
I am the ghost of Christmas present at your service.
Well, leaving me alone to get some sleep is the best service you could provide.
Come, Ebenezer. There is much for us to see.
A light snow was falling as Scrooge and the spirit moved along the street. The sounds of Christmas were everywhere.
Merry Christmas, miss.
And a Merry Christmas to you, sir.
So many in line at the baker's shop.
Yes, nothing like fresh baked bread for a Christmas dinner.
Next? Who's next? Come on, Merry Christmas all.
Such happiness, such joy. I love Christmas.
Scrooge suddenly found himself on a narrow and dark back alley.
Do you know this place?
Most certainly not.
Well, you should. See this tiny house? It is the home of your clerk.
Cratchit?
Yes, Bob Cratchit. Come, see his Christmas.
Hurry, children. Set the table. Your father and Tiny Tim will be home from church at any minute. Yes, Mother.
Yes, Mother.
Mother, it's Martha. She's here. Martha, my dear, we were so afraid you wouldn't make it home.
Oh, Mother, I had to be here. We worked very late last night. There was a big party. This morning, as soon as breakfast was cleared, The butler gave us all leave for Christmas. I ran the whole way home.
Merry Christmas, my dear family.
Merry Christmas!
Come on, Tim. Let's get you down in your chair by the fire and warmed up. There is still quite a chill in the air.
And how was young Tim in church?
Why, my dear Mrs. Cratchit, he was the perfect angel. He wanted to sit up front where everyone could see him. He gets so thoughtful at times. Tim said it would be good on this Christmas day for people to see him so they could remember who made the lame walk and the sick well.
Come, everyone, time for dinner. Look at that goose. It's extraordinary.
Let us say the blessing first, children. Lord, we thank you for this meal and this Christmas together as a family.
And God bless us, everyone.
They do seem to be enjoying their dinner.
Yes, they do look quite happy. Yet, that is not very much of a meal for such a large family.
Make way! Here comes the flaming pudding.
Here, Martha, put it on the table. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Oh, I hope so. I'm so worried. We hadn't much flour. Give your father a piece to test it.
My dear, you have outdone yourself. This is the best bread pudding ever.
Hooray! Pass out the pudding!
And the punch.
Just a minute, children. Everyone have their punch? It's time for a toast. I give you a toast to Christmas. And a toast to Mother for preparing a feast worthy of a king. And I give you a toast to Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
Founder of the feast indeed. I'd like to give that miserly old fool a piece of my mind.
Please, my dear, it's Christmas.
The stingy old man. Well, I'll drink to his health for your sake, Bob, and the day.
God bless Mr. Scrooge.
And what of the boy, Tim?
If the shadows do not change, next Christmas we'll see an empty chair by the fire and a tiny crutch lovingly preserved in the corner.
But why? He is so small.
Well, better that he dies now and decrease the surplus population. Come along, Ebenezer. There is another stop we need to make.
My friends, take your glasses for a toast to the joy of Christmas.
To Christmas! Fred, I see your uncle is not joining us this year either.
Didn't he tell you Christmas was a humbug?
He did, but I can't complain. In fact, I feel sorry for him. Why, he is missing a perfectly digestible dinner and some splendid company.
Let's play the yes-no game.
If you please, I will start the game.
Is it alive?
Yes.
Is it an animal?
Yes. Broadly defined.
Would somebody want it for a pet?
No, I certainly hope not.
Does it growl?
Yes, yeah, you could say that.
Is it a bear?
No.
Is it ill-tempered?
Most definitely.
I know. It's Ebenezer Scrooge.
That's it.
Wait, that's not fair. You said it wasn't a bear.
The room faded away, and Scrooge and the ghost were floating across the city and the entire county. As they flew over homes, churches, work shacks, and boats on the river, the sound of Christmas carols and joy was everywhere. Suddenly they stopped in a small space of light, surrounded by darkness. Scrooge noticed movement under the long robe of the spirit.
I am weary, and my time is nearly at an end.
No, wait. Spirit, what is beneath your robe?
The spirit opened his robe, and there stood two small children, cold, dirty, and dressed in rags.
They are mankind's children. The boy is ignorance, and the girl is want. Fear them, Ebenezer, but fear most the boy.
The spirit disappeared, and Scrooge found himself in darkness. Not total darkness, but the darkness of a cold and fearful night. It was a dark place, a graveyard. In front of him was a gravestone, but he could not make out the name. Slowly, he became aware of something, a spirit, a specter, behind him. Scrooge turned around.
Are you the third spirit that Marley foretold? Lead on, spirit, for I am too weary to complain. Spirit, I know this place. It is the exchange, but why are we here?
I tell you, all I know is that he is dead.
Dead? I thought he'd never die.
It happened in the night, they said, on Christmas Eve, and there alone without a single soul to comfort him.
Well, he hadn't any friends that I'm aware of.
He did mumble hello from time to time. That's the closest we ever got to a conversation.
What has he done with his money?
I don't know, but he didn't leave it to me.
I don't think it will be much of a funeral. I don't know who would attend.
I suppose we should arrange a delegation to attend the funeral. After all, he was a member of the exchange.
Well, I don't mind going so long as luncheon is provided, but I must be fed.
Spirit, I don't understand. It's 11 o'clock and I should be over there in my usual spot by the clock. Wait, where are we going?
The maid, the laundress, and the undertaker. Well, my friends, what have you here?
Some things to sell, Joe. We acquired these during the night.
I see. All three of you?
Well, he wasn't going to need any of this where he was going.
Besides, if he wanted to keep them, he should have been more friendly in life, so someone would be with him at the end.
Why, you're a bunch of scoundrels. Old Joe is proud of you. What have you got for me, Mr. Undertaker?
Here's mine. A pencil case, a watch and fob, some sleeve buttons, and an old brooch.
Well, not very good quality. Here's your money, but don't ask for a sixpence more or I'll change my mind.
Here, Joe. I got some sheets and towels, some old silver spoons, and his boots.
Now mine. Here, help me open my bundle.
Bed curtains?
Rings and all.
You mean you took them down while he was laying there? The blankets? He didn't die of anything catchy, did he?
No. If he had something catchy, I wouldn't have stayed around. And here, his silk shirt, not a hole in it.
His shirt?
Yes, they were going to bury him in it. What a waste. Calico is good enough for burying.
Spirit, what was that foul place? And who was the dead man they were talking about? Was it...
My dear, is there any news? Was he willing to give us more time on the loan? We just need a few weeks. Otherwise, it's debtor's prison.
My dear Caroline, it's no longer an issue.
Then he agreed to give us more time.
No.
No? Then what?
The old miser is dead. Dead.
Dead? He's really dead?
Yes, he died last night. The maid found him this morning. And word is, he made no arrangements. It will take weeks, maybe months, before someone takes over the company and sort things out.
Then we have time?
Plenty of time, my dear.
Spirit, please no more of this. Show me some tenderness, some kindness with a death.
Scrooge found himself in the corner of a dark room, lit by a few candles. As the scene came into focus, he realized it was the home of Bob Cratchit.
It's getting very late, Mother. Shouldn't Father be home by now?
Any time now. I must stop my sewing. The color hurts my eyes, and I can't have your father see me like that.
Father has been late every day.
I know. He doesn't seem to move so well now. Why, I remember him walking so quickly with Tim on his shoulder.
Hello, Mother. Children.
Hello, Father.
You're rather late, Bob.
I'm sorry, Mother. I took a walk out past the... Anyhow, it is a peaceful place, and I promised him we would visit him often. And I ran into Mr. Scrooge's nephew on the way back. He said, "I'm mightily sorry for the loss, Bob. Mightily sorry.
Scrooge felt like he was falling. Then suddenly he found himself back in the graveyard, on his knees, next to the large stone.
Spirit! Spirit! Whose name is on this stone? Spirit, before I look, tell me, are these images the things that are to be? Or if I change, do the events of the future change? Please, Spirit, tell me, is there hope for me? Spirit! Spirit! Help!
Scrooge became aware of a faint light, slowly brightening. He briefly opened his eyes and realized he was back in his room, lying on the floor next to his bed. He felt exhausted, and for some time, he knew not whether minutes, hours, or days, he drifted on the edge between sleep and awake. Then he heard the church bells. He shook off his fatigue, and with each second passing, he felt himself growing stronger. He climbed up from the floor, steadied himself for a few minutes, then moved toward the window, where the beam of light had been shining in. Scrooge opened the curtains and looked out on the day. A new snow had covered the town overnight, and even his dark, gloomy street seemed to have a special glow. Then he saw a young boy walking down the street below. Scrooge flung open the window and called out.
You, lad! Yes, you!
Me, sir?
Yes, you! What day is it?
What day is it? Today? Why, it's Christmas Day.
Christmas Day? Oh, good, good. Then I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night.
Huh? What did you say, sir?
Oh, nothing, nothing. Do you know the poultry shop in the next block?
I should say so.
Do they still have the prize turkey there?
You mean the one as big as me?
Yes, that's the one. Go and buy it and bring it here.
What? Come on.
No, please, I am in earnest. Have the poulter bring it here at once and I'll give you a shilling. Bring him in less than 15 minutes and I'll give you half a crown. I'll have it delivered to Bob Cratchit and not say who sent it. That will make them a Merry Christmas.
Scrooge was in a giddy mood. After sending the prize turkey to Cratchit and tipping the young lad and poulter each with half a crown, he dressed quickly and went out. On the street, he encountered the gentleman from the Benevolence League.
Merry Christmas, gentlemen! Merry Christmas!
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes, it is I. Though I'm sure that name is not pleasant for you to hear. Forgive me, gentlemen. And I'd like to make a pledge of £200 to your fund.
£200?
Yes, and not a farthing less. There are many back payments in that sum.
Why, Mr. Scrooge, how can we thank you?
Please, no need to say anything. Just promise you will come and see me tomorrow at my office. Please, come and see me.
We will, Mr. Scrooge, thank you, we will. And a Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, everyone!
Scrooge was passing the church and felt the need to stop in. He sat quietly in the back, listening to the hymns and the pastor's sermon on the miracle of Christmas. Scrooge knew his next destination. He must see his nephew Fred and his wife Abigail.
Merry Christmas, sir.
Merry Christmas, my dear. Is your master at home?
Yes, he is, sir. Whom shall I say is calling?
Please, just ask him to come to the door.
Who is at the door, Molly?
I don't know, sir. He just asked to speak with you.
Uncle Ebenezer. Why, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Fred. Is that dinner invitation still good?
Yes. Come into the sitting room and join us.
Why? Uncle Ebenezer!
Abigail, my dear Abigail, can you forgive an old fool who failed to see the riches in his own family?
Oh, Uncle, welcome! Come in, join us for dinner.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge!
Scrooge stayed at Fred's late that night. It had been too many years since he had known such happiness, and he didn't want to leave. Despite the late hours, however, he was up early as always and in his counting office well before the opening time of 9 o'clock. He watched the clock, waiting for the arrival of his clerk, Bob Cratchit. It was already 20 past the hour. Scrooge heard the door open gently. He kept his head down, pretending to be engrossed in his work as Cratchit took off his coat and tried to slip unnoticed into his chair.
Cratchit! Bob Cratchit! What do you mean coming in here 20 minutes late?
I'm sorry, Mr. Scrooge. We were making quite merry yesterday.
Well, Mr. Cratchit?
Please, sir, it's only once a year and I'll make up the time.
Well, I'm not going to stand for this anymore. And therefore, I'm going to raise your salary.
Raise my salary?
Yes, Bob. A Merry Christmas. And hopefully a better Christmas each year for you and your family. Now, before you do any work, get that fire going strong and run out and get us a new coal scuttle. Then, later, we'll discuss how I can help that family of yours over a couple of smoking bishops. Hurry now. How did we ever get along in such a cold office?
Scrooge was better than his word. He became as good a friend, as good a master, as good a man as the old city had ever known. And Tiny Tim was healed, and Scrooge became like a second father to him. Scrooge never heard from the spirits again, but on every Christmas Eve, he and his guests would drink a toast in memory of Jacob Marley. It was said by all that Ebenezer Scrooge knew how to keep Christmas well, and to Mr. Scrooge that was the best compliment ever. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone. Merry Christmas to you and yours.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.